Right. So I want to welcome everyone to today's Pizza and Progress session, proudly sponsored by the student government organization, Women of Color. We're elated to have a diverse mix of participants, both here and online. Your presence is truly appreciated. Now, today, we are honored to introduce Maria Morales, a dynamic educator and champion for inclusive learning. Maria's journey in education began over a decade ago at Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn, New York. Since then, she showcased her talent and dedication at every step. Starting as a kindergarten teaching assistant, Maria quickly rose to lead teacher position, demonstrating her versatility by specializing in teaching Spanish to young people. In 2019, Maria's leadership was recognized when she directed the character education program, The Leader in Me, implementing comprehensive strategies benefiting staff and families alike. Driven by her passion for equitable education, Maria founded MEM Consulting Services LLC in 2023. Through this venture, she partnered with organizations like the Urban League of the Upstate, empowering students in STEM and social justice. Maria's commitment to inclusive education extends her contributions and collaborations with the New York Department of Education, where she spearheads projects for vulnerable student populations, leaving a mark on the future of learning. Join us in celebrating Maria's unwavering dedication to shaping the educational landscape and empowering students of all backgrounds. Now, I want to thank you first, Maria, for your tireless efforts and dedication to our community. We appreciate your passion for making a difference in the lives of students and educators alike. Additionally, a special thanks to Mrs. Morales' partner in good work, TCTC alumna, Kimberly Arnold. She is the Chief Operating Officer for the Urban League of the Upstate. For joining us today, your presence is greatly appreciated. Now, before, now we want to put this up here so that you can remember it. Before Maria shares her insights with us, I want you to mark your calendars for the last session of the spring semester on April 12th, where Dr. Lanika Mussolini will discuss financial strategies for college success. Now, I wish you would join me in welcoming Mrs. Maria Morales as she comes to share her expertise with us.
Good afternoon. It is such a pleasure to be here with you all today. I am very excited. I couldn't even sleep last night thinking about coming and being able to share a little bit of my story and how I've gotten to where I am currently. As you can see, I am representing joint partnerships with the Urban League of the Upstate today, and as well as my company. So, just to give you a little bit of background and information about me, I am a very, very proud Latina. Born and raised up until the age of 9 in Santa Ana in Salvador. And if you're not aware of where Salvador is, it is a tiny little country in Central America. I migrated to the US in 2003, very specifically on April 20th. So my anniversary of migrating to the US is coming up. And I resided in Georgia for a little bit right before I moved to Queens, New York, and eventually I settled in Brooklyn, New York, which is the place that I like to call home. So anytime you ask me where am I from, I more than likely will tell you I'm from Brooklyn. That's what I represent. Even though, again, my country is also my background. It provided me with a rich foundation of cultural awareness that I am lucky to have. Because it just, up until the age of 9, I was still developing, but I had a beautiful, wonderful childhood that I carry with me and that helps me to move forward with what I am doing. And like I said, even though I wasn't born in New York City, I remember because it is the city that shaped me. I get my hustle, my grind, I get my persuasion from the way that I was raised and how I grew up in the city of New York, and then most of my adulthood, I spent it there. One of the most important things about me that I like to highlight, and this is a very special moment for me specifically, is that I am a dreamer, which is a deferred action childhood arrival, or short DACA recipient. This is actually the very, very first time I am ever publicly speaking about it, because through all my years, it was something that I wasn't entirely proud of. If you don't know what a deferred action childhood arrival is, like I mentioned, I migrated to the US when I was 9 years old. I migrated illegally. It wasn't my choice. I was brought here by somebody else who made a decision to say, hey, we're gonna give you an opportunity elsewhere. So we're gonna bring you on. And I didn't entirely understand what that meant, because at the age of 9, I was in 4th grade and I was growing and developing as a normal 4th grader here in the US. I had acclimated to the culture very, very quickly. I was not bilingual when I moved. I knew maybe 20 vocabulary words in English at the time, because we were learning it in El Salvador, but I wasn't fluent. And I remember when I moved here, it was very strange because I felt like I was in another world. I didn't speak the language. Everywhere that I saw, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't read because I don't understand anything. And it was just because I didn't speak the language. But within a year, I was able to learn English, and I, again, acclimated to the culture here very, very quickly. So throughout my years of early childhood education, elementary, middle, and high school, there was no difference between myself and my classmates. I didn't see any difference. I didn't know what, I didn't really think much of it. I knew I was an immigrant. That's what I was told most of the time. Seeing my family, my friends, knowing what the life of an immigrant was, I kind of knew it, but I didn't feel like that's who I was. I didn't feel like that is what defined me. I didn't feel like I needed to clean houses or cook food to make a living. It was something else within me because I didn't see the difference. It wasn't until my 12th year of high school when I started to apply to colleges, because again, I was living a normal life. I was like, I want to go to school. I want to become a teacher. Initially, I wanted to become an attorney. There was 2 career paths that I wanted to take. I wanted to become an attorney, and I love teaching. So I knew it was going to be one or the other. When I started to apply for colleges, in my junior, going into my senior year, I realized that there was something that was different about me. DACA came to be in 2012. I graduated from high school in 2011. So technically speaking, I was still illegal. I didn't have any kind of documentation when I graduated. As I was applying for colleges, I was told that I needed to have a social security card, which I didn't have. I was told that I needed to have an American birth certificate, which I didn't have. And that's when it really settled with me. There is something different about me, that I cannot just continue with my path the way that I thought. It's not going to be the same process. I went through it. I did my SATs, and I applied to John Jay University in New York City, which is a criminal justice school, where I thought, hey, I can pursue a career in criminal law, right? I wanted to become an attorney. This is it. John Jay declined me. And they declined me not because I didn't have the grades, not because I didn't have the SAT scores. They declined me because I didn't have any legal documentation that said I could attend school. So again, up until this point, I was going through school fine, and then I get to where I'm now having to transition into an adult and realizing that I can't. Medgar Evers College is a CUNY school, which is an inner city field of schools that is provided for us. And it is almost like a historically Black college. They were the only ones that said, we will accept you. We will take you in. However, you need to sign an affidavit saying that you will do everything in your power to ensure that you're going to gain status. At the time, because there is no actual pathway, legal pathway for me to join, I said, okay, I'll sign the document, but I don't really know how I'm going to go about it. In 2012, I'm a firm believer that God makes things happen for us in our time. In 2012, President Barack Obama approved DACA. And the way that it was presented at first was for us, for childhood arrivals, like myself, who did not technically commit a crime by coming in here illegally because we did not choose to. I was brought here. We were asking for citizenship at the time. And because if you know how American politics works, it has to go through different stages. It wasn't approved in that matter. However, it was approved to the point where I am allowed to legally work here. I was assigned a social security number. I was assigned the necessary documents that keep me here and allow me to work legally. When that happened, everything opened up for me in a way that I didn't expect. However, there were still many challenges that I faced. I cannot do anything without my deferred action. And again, prior to this very moment right now, I've never spoken about it. If you don't know me personally and where I come from, you would not have guessed that this is who I was, or that this was a part of my story because I didn't carry myself. I was shameful. I was ashamed of it. And I was ashamed of it because I thought that I was doing something wrong. I thought that, it was just something that would be frowned upon. But in this very moment, and as I was preparing for this conversation and just reading and hearing about the accomplishments that I have made, I am so proud. I am so proud of the fact that I didn't allow that to stop me from pursuing a career, from going to college, developing a career to how I've done it. And so it's a very special moment for that very reason. Let's see. So when I attended Mega Everest, I was pursuing a degree in education because, again, it was the only thing that I could do at the time. At the tender age of 20, I officially began my journey as a teacher when I secured a job as a teaching assistant at Cultural Arts Academy Charter School. We're going to call it CAACS for short. And I built my 10-year educational career here. The interesting thing about Cultural Arts Academy, because it is a charter school, I ended up there. If you have any education majors, you have to do student teaching hours when you're in school. And so I ended up pursuing this school, hoping to educate those hours within the school. It was an elementary school. Just before that, I actually started at 19. My mother worked in a high school and she needed help with English language learners to prepare them for the state testing. And she kind of dropped me in there since I was already going to pursue a degree in education. She said, hey, come with me. Let's have you work with the L's and see how that goes. But I was too young, even though I wanted to end up in high school. It was a little too close to age. Some of them were a little older than me. I was only 19. And so when I ended up doing my student teaching hours here at Cultural Arts Academy, the principal approached me and she said, I am hearing great things about you. I am hearing great things not only from the students who love you already, but also from the teachers you are working with. They see your passion, they see you move. How about you come on board? At the time when she offered me the position, I still had not received my DACA. I was actually one of the very first cases nationwide to be approved as a DACA recipient. And so I was in the process of waiting for that when she offered me the position in 2012. So I said, hey, let me stay on just volunteering. Let me get through the process. I ended up getting my teaching assistant certification during that time so that I can, once my DACA was approved and I was able to legally work, I had everything that I needed. I was already in college. I was already, I think, a year and a half full-time, full credits at that point. I got my teaching certification to whatever highest level that I can get. And in 2013, I started working. The interesting thing about Cultural Arts Academy was I have never taught a day in my life. It was my first time. And the first day of my official first day, my AP says to me, hey, I know you're hired as the teaching assistant for kindergarten, but we haven't been able to secure a Spanish teacher. And we would love, because you are bilingual, for you to step into the role and kind of just take it on. And I said and looked at him, I've never taught. This is my first time. How do you suppose I'm going to run a classroom? I don't know anything about running a classroom. I'm in school. I'm learning. And I was like, when would you like me to do this? He looked at me and said, right now. This is their class. And he pointed to my students that were lined up so nicely in the hallway at the time. And I just had to kind of step on. And that was how things kind of just went there. I was pursuing a degree in early childhood education with a minor in social sciences. Teaching Spanish was not by any means what I wanted to do. Even in my subject interests, science, history, ELA, those were my forte. That's what I wanted to do. Spanish was by no means anything that I wanted to do. But they threw me in there from my first day, and I kind of stayed in that role for about 3 months until they hired a teacher, transitioned back into teaching assistant. But I had already messed up because they saw me teaching, and they liked how I taught, and they liked how quickly I acclimated to the classroom and how naturally it just happened. And so every year from there on, I never really performed as a teaching assistant. I was mainly in a teacher role, even though I was still in school. As years went on, I ended up teaching. Let me make sure I'm going. Yes, so as the years went on, I ended up teaching grades 3 and 5 in general education. That means I was teaching every single subject. Math is not my forte. I don't know how I got them through that, but I did it. And because when I tell you math freaks me out, 2 + 2 sometimes makes me shake. So it was an interesting time. And then eventually they kept me full-time as a Spanish teacher for K-2. I hated it. I didn't want to do it. It was not something that and then year 2 of teaching Spanish full-time, I was full-blown immersed. My principal said, do you see how quickly you run into that? And the point I want to make with that is consistently through my life and my professional life, people have seen something within me before I saw it in myself. And it has led me trusting those visions that people have had of me, even though I fought it, because I fought it very much. So it has always led me to something greater every single time. And as I think about young minds who are currently in college, like you guys enroll right now, I changed my mind a million times about what subjects I wanted to teach. And I was put in positions that I thought that were not something that I wanted to do, but when I really fully immersed, I flourished. And so on year 6 of my 10 years at Cultural Arts Academy, my principal decided she was going to give me a little heart attack. She called me during the summertime. And if you're a teacher, you know, during your summertime, this is when you're relaxing, you're trying to do things, even though I was running camps. I was directed for a summer camp during every single summer that I was off from Cultural Arts Academy. So I was staying busy, but she called me and she said, hey, can you come into the building? I need to talk to you. I was like, oh man, she's firing me. This is it, I'm done. I'm gonna have to find another job. We're gonna have to figure out, what did I do? She sat me down and she had these glasses that she used to like to look under, when she, you know, as she was smiling, and she said, listen, you have been, one of the pillars of our school was character education. And for whatever reason, during homeroom, for those 6 years prior to, she always partnered me up with new teachers. Even when I was a new teacher myself, but she always partnered me up and she said, have you noticed how well you handle character education? And how many teachers you have trained unofficially, just as their partner during morning meetings? And I was like, no, I have not. I'm just doing my job and indulging with. And she said, but do you hear how you speak about it? I said, no, I do not. I'm kind of just going with what I need to do. And she said, well, dear, I would like for you to move up to leadership this year. I said, is that why you thought me that I was getting fired? She said, no. We want to move you up to leadership. And we want you to become the director of our character education program, which, if any of you are familiar with the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, this is where that differs from. And the idea of the 7 habits, or the leader in me, is that we take these 7 habits that we teach to adults who want to evolve and become better as an adult. We're taking it to a program and we teach it to children from K to 5. And so in those primary years, why wait until you are in high school or in college to learn these principles when we can instill them within you from young? Learn the concepts, because it is possible, it is teachable. I cannot tell you the amount of times I had kindergarten talking about, I'm proactive, I go home and I put first things first. All of those things, and they're 5-year-olds. But they're learning these principles from young. And so she said, we're gonna move you into the parents and kids, they're going to be in charge of not only the teachers, but our entire staff has to go through training. Which means that you are going to be training them, and on top of our staff, because we want to continue to build community and involve our families, you are also going to train our families. I was looking at her like she had lost her mind, because I said, how do you suppose I'm going to do that? Here I am, this little immigrant girl, right, from once upon a time, who migrated at the age of 9. No idea that this is something that I could ever even do. I didn't even envision it. It's not even in what I went to school for. This is something completely out of sight. And the transformation that happened within me that summer, it was a complete paradigm shift for myself. I saw myself in a different place, but not only for myself, but I also now had to speak into somebody else. I also had to train other people, not only my students, but adult people, my colleagues that I had worked, that had basically seen me grow up. I was the youngest staff member in that school, pretty much the entire time that I was there. And the positions that I held, I was always the youngest one to hold them. This included. And so I had older colleagues who were looking at me and were like, you're not gonna teach me anything. I don't want to listen to what you have to say. But I had to step into that room, and there was a transformation that took place within me. There was a different growth that happened when that happened. I grew personally first, because I was seeing myself in a new light. And then I grew with the way that I interacted with my peers. Again, feeling like I had to fill a couple of shoes that people maybe not believed in me because I was younger than them. But it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I held this role for 4 years. One of my strongest accomplishments here, I moved into the role in the school year of 2019 to 2020. If you know what happened in 2020, we were in a global pandemic. So this is my first year trying to really establish this program and build it up. And the pandemic hits. So now we're at home. One of our main events with the Parents Education Program is what we call Leadership Day. And that's what you're seeing in those pictures there. And it's the day that we open up our doors to the community to welcome you in and show you exactly what is it that we do and how we do it. Of course, it's the pandemic, so we cannot open our doors. My principal said, figure it out. We gotta keep things moving. We have to do it. I was the very first person in the entire nation who created a virtual leadership day for a program. And not only did I create the first one, this is when I dived into my video editing skills that I did not know I had into this moment. Again, I tell you, opportunities, every place that we're placed, right, opens up new doors. I learned that I had video editing skills that I did not know I possessed. I also learned that I can run a program of an event. And I had to cover 3 hours of content during this pandemic. And you won't believe what I had to do. I didn't sleep for like a month. No, it wasn't, because she gave me 3 weeks to do it. And within 3 weeks, I had to put this program together. Once it was done, we had a partnership that we had met a woman that was the director of a chain of charter schools in China. And she wanted to partner with us, with our schools, to do kind of like a exchange of minds with the students in China and our school. And she took my virtual leadership day, the very first one, that it was a rookie kind of experiment, and she showcased it to every charter school in China. So here is my little Salvadorian face, all over China with our leadership day. And it was such an incredible experience, because the following year, they did it again, and they gave me my props for being the first one to do it. I was almost a pioneer in that regard, so I take really good pride of that. In 2023, in June of 2023, I decided to part ways with CAA because I had relocated to South Carolina. During the pandemic, I bought a house. I said, I'm going. New York City is crazy right now. I want a different pace of life, a different quality of life. And I started looking into South Carolina, and things fell into place so well that I ended up moving. And so I was still working from 2020 to 2023. I was still working virtually. I traveled a lot because once we went back to school, I had to be present. So I was often in New York City. And this is actually my ceremony at the end of Leadership Day, my very last one with my school. My principal gave me a beautiful speech at that moment, and she gave me that little plaque, and those are my kids, during that very last one. This was not an easy decision to make. I grew up with this school. They literally watched me go from a young professional, a college student, to a young professional, to now everything that I had accomplished within those 10 years. It wasn't easy. And often, and I think for us, it's human nature to get so comfortable when we are in an environment that it's hard to accept change and to say, what else can I do? Now, this decision prompted me to the next stage of my life. What am I going to do? I started to job search here in South Carolina as a teacher, and I was highly insulted with the salary that they were offering me. I had 10 years of experience. I had all this education. I said, I don't know if that's gonna work for me. And so I said, well, it's time to reinvent ourselves. What are we going to do? This is when we ended up, I took that already, with my next point. When we are young professionals, for you guys here at Tri-County right now, one of the most important things that you can do is network. It is something that is going to take you further than you could ever imagine. Building relationships, meeting, talking to people allows you to open up even further doors that you maybe didn't even think that could happen just by simply talking and meeting people. And when I relocated to South Carolina, I had the pleasure of meeting a very special someone who ended up leading me to meet Miss Kim Arnold, who then introduced me into the Urban League of the Upstate. Now, when I met Miss Kim, I was still employed at Cultural Academy, but she did learn about what I was doing professionally. She learned about me. She learned about my character, which is another point that I would like to share with you guys. One of the firmest things that you can have all the education you want, you can have all the certifications that you can wish to accomplish. But if your character does not match who you are, or if your character doesn't speak well, it's going to hinder you from opportunities that you never know. Your character has to shine through before your academics speak. We can show you a million times, I have all of these degrees, I have all of this experience, but if I cannot sit in a room with you and have a good feeling or understand a good side of you from your character, it's going to, So she got to meet me character-wise first, and then she learned about the professional side. But it's because of Ms. Kim that I ended up with Urban League. Moving forward, as I'm reinventing myself, and I'm thinking of what's next for me, I ended up thinking, or I understood, again, that networking position of the opportunities that were available. My mother, is a very successful attorney in New York City who had a career change in 2008. And she went through the fellows programs and she became a teacher. She went and started all from scratch. She was an attorney, she was a real estate attorney. And when the market dropped, she said she had to reinvent herself as well. And so I watched her go through school again to get a degree in education, start from the bottom. She started teaching and then moved up slowly. My mother is currently working right under the Chancellor of New York City right now. And she said, listen, I have an opportunity that I can place you in places that are going to take you somewhere. And I want to introduce you to a couple of people. Let them hear what you're doing, what we're going to think about, and see what happens. And so last year, while I was still employed in Cultural Arts Academy and I was in New York City, I ended up doing some events for free with her. But my mother had a bigger vision. She said, listen, we just want them to see what you can do. And so based on those events, there were people that expressed interest in me. I was offered a position in the central office at the DOE in New York City with a 6-figure salary because of that position, because of that engagement that I had to do. I did 3 different programs and then I kind of just stepped in and ran with it. And I was offered a position by the number 3 person in the DOE. She said, I would love to have you on our team. Let's talk about it. And I said, I live in South Carolina now, and I don't really want to relocate back to New York. So let's talk about what we can do. And she said, become a contractor. And I said, how do you do that? Establish a business, become a vendor, a New York City public vendor, and let's talk. I said, okay. So during that time, I ended up securing my firm, and I ended up doing it in this way where I'm a educational consultant. I can provide services, bilingual services in English and or Spanish. I can teach because this is what I've been doing for now 11 years. I can provide mentoring opportunities, whatever you can think of that is education wise, I have done it and I can do it. So I established it. There's my little certificate of existence that I'm so proud of because that is my baby, it is my business, it is me, it's where I am at this point. Time and place, right? How things happen. As I told you, I met Miss Kim and she had looked over my resume. I explained to her, listen, I am starting my own business. This is the services I'm gonna offer. She said, right now, we don't really have anything, but I'm gonna keep you in the loop. Let's think about it. My business was established in August of 2023. During that same time, Ms. Kim gave me a call and said, there is an opportunity of a partnership between Clemson University, the Urban League of the Upstate, and Little John's Community Center. And it's a program called My Semi-Story, where we need an instructor. I've expressed that one of my favorite things to do is science, but I've never really flourished in it because I was pushed into other fields, right? That led me to other things. As my story ended up happening, she said, we need an instructor. Are you interested? I said, yes. I'm trying to get my feet wet. I'm trying to, move on to South Carolina. Let's see what's all about. So my semi-story came to be, and just to give you a little bit about our mission from my semi-story is we empower African-American youth to identify environmental problems in their own communities, conduct scientific investigations, and create and implement action plans to address those issues. Now, this particular grant was written by Dr. Renee Lyons from Clemson University, and it is about a little community called Tillery in North Carolina, who experienced environmental injustice and pollution through hog farms. And so she ended up meeting with them. There was a long period of fighting that took place during that time. There's a graphic novel that's being developed to tell their story and how they stepped up as a community to fight these hog farms. And so I joined the team. It was awesome. I started working right off the bat. All while I was going through the process of becoming a New York City public vendor, because again, my business was my first step, but I needed to become a vendor if I wanted to work with the schools in New York City. If I wanted contracts in New York City, I had to go through the process. And it wasn't an easy process. It took some time, so we had to figure it out. So we got started with my semi-story. Some of my responsibilities with this program include, of course, me being the instructor weekly. I am currently involved in curriculum development as well because we are on year 2 of the grant. So we are still developing the curriculum. Once we are done, we are hoping that it's going to be something. It is going to be shared with the Urban League nationwide, so anybody can take the curriculum and teach exactly the story that we are currently developing with right now. So currently we are at Little John's in Clemson, but I believe for next year we are moving on to partnering with Legacy Charter Schools. So that's where we are potentially going to run a program as an after-school program next year. So I'm very excited with it. Currently, because we are partnering with Clemson, I have a group of 8 undergrad students that are mentoring under me. I meet with them weekly, where I have 2 of them who are education majors, and then the rest of them are science majors. And what is important, what's so beautiful about them is that we want to have representation, right? These mentors are all in Clemson. They are all African American. Our students, the communities that we are serving are predominantly African American and proud students. So it's so important for us to have them present with our youth so they can see other things. I know for myself with this opportunity, in December, I got a chance to travel to DC to meet for the National Science Foundation. There was a meeting with all the grants, and I was so empowered. Me as a 30-year-old woman who has built a career, who has accomplished all of these things, I was so inspired to watch the women of color up there representing a level of a field that is not very common for us, which was science, STEM. And when I tell you the amount of African American women, Latinas that was up there, and then Native Americans. I have never seen so many Native American women representing in science the way I did. And I was so inspired. I think I cried during every session that I was in there because I was like, I can't believe that this is, well, it's unheard of. We never see it. We don't, it's not something that you can turn the TV on and see a Native American scientist or a Latina that is running a whole program for a whole state in science. So I was really, really inspired. So one of the mentors that we have here, they're so important for that very reason. Because we want our kids to see themselves in a career that is not necessarily always tailored to us, right? We are currently serving middle school students, so we're getting them just before they go into high school and they start thinking about what kind of careers they want to develop once, you know, high school gets over and we want to go into college. So it's a wonderful, wonderful program for that very reason. But again, we're developing it still, so it's really fun for me to be part of that process. Does it get a little frustrating sometimes? Yes, because we're in the developing stages, but the point of that is, and even with just everything that I've done, there has been so many points in time where I'm like, maybe I need to stop, maybe I'm not making the right decision, I haven't done the right thing by pursuing whatever path this was. There's always a quick reminder that says, there's something bigger happening though. And with this program, that's something that I have to keep in mind all the time, especially because, again, in our beginning stages, there's struggles and challenges that present themselves that can discourage you, right? Just like in anything, things happen, they can discourage you. But if you continue to just push forward, eventually, and keeping that goal in mind, the end result is really, really powerful. So let's just go a little bit into what the Urban League is. My wonderful partnership here with the Urban League. The Urban League of the Upstate was founded in 1972 as an affiliate of the National Urban League. It was established in Greenville was a response to the need for advocacy and services for African Americans facing systematic barriers to education, employment, and economic opportunity during the civil rights movement. Because I gotta click here. Our mission is to advance equity by empowering the Black community and underserved individuals through the region. The Urban League is the oldest and largest community-based organization of its kind in the nation. So there's great, great work that is happening with the Urban League. I added this QR code just in case anybody would like to learn more about us. The QR code would lead us straight into our website where you can find out a little more about the history of the Urban League, what kinds of work we are doing for the community. And if you want to get involved as well, we have applications for volunteers through the website in itself. So I did share the code just for that reason. Now, we also have other opportunities to get involved with the Urban League, especially for young adults like yourselves in college right now. Two of the most common ways to become involved with the Urban League is through our internship/volunteer opportunities and our need for mentors. There's that word again, right? Mentors with our Project Ready. If you are interested in becoming an intern or volunteer, we invite you to reach out to our COO, Ms. Kim Arnold, and I provided her email on there as well, where you can provide her with your resume and interest in internships or volunteer opportunities. We have great events that happen throughout the entire year at different points, and we are always in need of volunteers or interns that would like to join us and get, involved with being a part of the great work that we are doing. Now, Project Ready, becoming a mentor with Project Ready. And just to give you a little bit of background, it is an evidence-based standard plus practical tool specifically designed to get African American, Latinx, and other urban youth ready for college, work, and life. And what all of that means is, in essence, we are looking for young people who can inspire even younger people to become those role models. I can think of many people throughout my life that I've looked up to, that I've seen and learned from. And so it is important to have that, especially if you have a history where you haven't seen it much in your family or things of that matter. When we have somebody that is doing something different that is making an impact or is, leading things in a way that we haven't seen, we need you. We need you to come and join us. We need you to come and show what kind of talents you have. Because again, we never know who's in the room with us, right? You can have something that you can contribute to somebody. You can change somebody's life just by your life experiences or whatever it is that you can do. Now, college is not always for everyone. We have different career paths that can take place, and mentorship doesn't necessarily always means that you have to go the route of college. There are great traits that you can learn and that can take you, further in life as well. So sharing that with our kids through Project Ready is always needed and welcome. Currently, we provide service support in the areas of academics, leadership, civic opportunities, and mentorship. And again, I just gave you guys a brief breakdown of what those things are within each of those categories. Academic, we have scholarship applications. You as young college students, you've gone through the process of filling out FAFSA applications, right? How to apply to college. You can pass that knowledge down to the next generation who may not know or who may need somebody to guide them through that process. Standardized test prep. If you've gone through it before, you have experience of what to expect, what kind of questions are going to happen. There's college tours. College tours open up the doors to all the possibilities of the options out there for us, right? We have college applications, assistance and workshops, senior assignment. In regards to leadership, we have working force and development, networking. There's that word once again, networking, which is so, so important. So skills development, internship and job shadowing. Again, I told you, my doors opened up at Cultural Arts Academy because I was doing kind of like an internship situation, right? I was doing student teaching hours. What did I do? That's what I did. I was doing student teaching hours that were required from my college, but it was almost like an internship. I got to watch teachers who had been in the business for a while. And as I watched and I learned, I was doing and I was putting myself out there, and then I was offered the position. So those things are important. When you think of internship, a lot of the times people get discouraged because an internship means it's unpaid, right? So there's no monetary incentive there. But think about the things that are going to happen not only for yourself, but the people that are around you. You never know who's in the room with you. In one of those internship positions, you can meet a CEO that sees you, that sees your character, that sees how you carry yourself, that sees how you interact with others. And they might say, let me talk to her. Let me talk to her for a second and see what she offers. So you never know how those internships and job shadowing can impact you. Civil opportunities involve summer enrichment programs, community service programs, and service learning programs. And of course, mentorship, which is assisting students with college careers and cultural readiness. It is also important to make sure we are focusing on that cultural readiness perspective of things. We have individuals one-to-one, group clusters opportunities, capture social interaction. A lot of the time, especially since the pandemic happened, our younger generation of students do not have any social skills. And it's because most of them were at home during foundational years. Those kindergartners that started kindergarten in virtual learning, can you imagine you've never stepped foot into a classroom and now you're expected to learn while you were at home? I was a kindergarten teacher at one point, so the transition of going from home to learning in an environment, it's a big transition. And it doesn't happen smoothly, it doesn't happen easily. So now imagine how our kids are doing now that had to start their educational careers during that time. They have no social skills. Some of us are older who may be able to say, let me get you to interact with myself, with other kids, and show you how we handle ourselves in those social situations. So it's very important for us to get involved in that regard. We have two options when it comes to mentoring with Project Ready. Our option one is to join our regular program workshops at Hughes Academy on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. And you can choose to commit both days, or you can do just one if you are interested, and depending on your schedule, everybody has different availability. Our second option is to engage in mentoring and commit to a 1 year of mentoring a group of group 4 students. So you can choose the group, right? If you feel like you can handle 4 people that you can mentor, hey, welcome and more power to you. But if you feel like you want to start with 1, we would like for you to commit for a whole year if you were interested in the opportunity. During this time, you have the opportunity to again join us during the regular programming at Hughes Academy. This is where the program is run mainly. And you can come in during lunchtime, sit with the students, interact with them at that point, mentor them in their after-school programs. You can take them out, go to a park. For the boys who maybe like basketball, and if you are athletic like that, or you're a girl, let's say you know a little thing or two about basketball, and they're interested in that, in that type of field, you can go to and take them to a park and play some basketball. It's really just about dedicating that one-on-one time with them to let them know that they have somebody that they can look up to and talk to if they need it. Because again, same thing with social interaction and being able to have somebody to talk to. Our kids don't often open up, right? There's trust that needs to be built, and when you have a mentor that allows you to open up and let your guard down and say, I trust you, I trust your opinion, I trust what you can do for me, it's a wonderful experience. The program does require a 2-hour training and a background check that you must pass if you are interested in joining our program. But again, it's just 2 hours, it goes really, really quickly, and it's all online, so you don't have to go anywhere to do it. The background check goes through the Urban League, correct? And then, once you get approved, we get you to move, through with it. I have also added a QR code if you were to be interested in joining our mentoring program. By scanning this code, it will take us directly into the application, which goes to the National Urban League. You just have to select Urban League of the Upstate at that point so that you are narrowed down to our community in our area. I really would love to encourage any of you who are looking for an opportunity to get involved with the community, to give back, to learn, because you can learn. I encourage you to let us know if you are interested in internships or in volunteering during those programs. Again, you never know who you might meet at that time. And then with our youth needs it more than ever. Our youth needs our expertise, our commitment, our fresh thoughts, anything that you can think of. Just to move forward, right? The next generation that needs to take place and go on. So if anybody would be interested, I'm happy to leave the QR code with you guys as well, just so that we can get you involved with the Urban League. That is all for my information. Any questions? Comments?
You talked about the establishment of your LLC. Were you proud of your certification? Say South Carolina.
Oh my goodness, I cried.
Yes.
It was because I never, when I chose the pathway of becoming a teacher, I didn't think that would mean business. I didn't think I'd never had any development in what to do, and so I had to do research. I had to trust people who have done it and people that I look up to walk with through the process. So when I received that certificate, and it was just establishing was a quick process, right? That wasn't meant, but just seeing it in front of me that it has my name. Let me give you a little bit of background on that MEM component. Another first for me. Most of the time, and even as you saw at the beginning of my presentation, I introduced myself as Maria Morales. That is because when I migrated to the US, my name was cut short. And if you know anything about history of our names, when we were brought to this continent, it's very similar to what happened years and years ago with slavery, right? How our names were changed. And so that happened to me in that moment. And if I may reintroduce myself, my name, my given name, is really Maria Elena Morales. And I've never actually introduced myself as that, because for 21 years that I've been here, I immediately, as soon as I enrolled in school, I was Maria Morales. The E became just a letter in between. Nobody really know how to pronounce it because it's not Maria Elena, it's Maria Elena Morales. And that wasn't something that could be said easily. So I shortened it. It was always Maria Morales. Wherever you go, all my documents. When I was thinking about the name for my business, so I wanted it to represent me. On top of the fact that it was shortened, that name is a tribute to my grandmother who raised me up until that point. That was her name. Maria Elena Morales was her name. And I was named directly after her. And my grandmother was a woman, a humble woman in El Salvador, who never even attended school. She did not know how to read. She did not know how to write. I remember watching her when I was a young girl. She would sign with her thumbprints because she did not know how to read or write. And so anytime that she needed to represent herself, they would identify her by her thumbprints. So for me to see my name, her name on that certificate, it's very special and it's an honor to her and to my accomplishments as well. So my business is something that I'm very proud of. We're just getting started. I'm just getting started. When I tell you what I've shared with you, it's just the beginning. I'm so excited to see where it's gonna go. But yes, I am very, very, very proud. And I was very emotional when I saw it. Even more when I became a vendor, when I got that application approved in New York City, it was even better.
But would love to have you come back and talk about possibly in the fall semester, the process of establishing. I think that'd be awesome.
I would absolutely love it because again, for somebody, I have absolutely no background in business. I have no background in how to run a business. I had no idea what to do. And so it was something that I, again, trusted people who did know, those people in my village who could provide that knowledge for me and walk me through the process. And I'm still learning. I'm not saying that I'm an expert. I am by no means an expert, but I am still learning. And I'm really, really excited about how it's developing. I am currently, through my company, I have 2 major contracts, which is with the Urban League in partnership with Clemson. And then I am working for the Department of Education in New York City, very specifically with the students in temporary housing, who are majority Latin immigrants. We have some Haitian as well, but majority they're Latin immigrants, and I see myself in them. And so for me to be able to give back with support for that office in particular, if you know anything about the migrants in New York City, they're all in hotels who pretty much get kicked out every week. There's no establishment, there's no room in the schools for kids. They're getting all of these different things, and I was there. I was that little girl once upon a time. Thank goodness I had family and friends that, you know, that were with me, but I see myself in them. And when I stand in front of them and I say, do not ever let the fact that you're here as an immigrant define you and where you're gonna go, look at me. Look at where I am. And I was just like you. I was in that same position at that time. So it is very meaningful. I'm expanding. I have 2 potential other contracts that I'm working on, but we're not gonna speak on them just in case. We're gonna wait until those happen.
We definitely want you to come back and talk about that establishment of LLC and consulting. I think that's the excellent. topic.
Absolutely, I would
Yeah.
absolutely be glad to do so.
Well, we definitely want to thank you, first of all, the information. I mean,
Fascinating.
overly valuable. I
Yeah.
cannot tell you how much, how important this has been for us. But I do want to say, as we conclude this session, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you, whether you came in person or online through participation. Also, the privilege of hearing from Mrs. Morales, a true beacon of change and inspiration in our community. Let her words serve as a catalyst for action, prompting you to change the status quo and forge meaningful connections with our communities. As we part ways, I encourage you to mark your calendars for our upcoming sessions with Dr. Wendy Peterson, who will share insights for thriving financially in college on April 12th. So let's harness momentum from today and continue making a positive impact. Until we meet again, stay inspired, stay engaged, and stay united.
Thank you.
And before everybody leaves, let's get a brief thing.
Okay.
Don't close that out yet, because I want to,
I'm gonna stop recording,
But
yeah.
just don't, not recording, right?
I'm gonna
Perfect.
stop.
Yes.
And you want to stop recording?
Yeah, I just wanted to bug